What I see in the trends is you will need to be creative in the future if you want to stay ahead of artificial intelligence. So I think entrepreneurial mindset and being creative in your thinking is extremely important to stay ahead in the future.
Today on Great Owls, I'm delighted to welcome Frank Meehan. Frank is a serial entrepreneur and a truly global investor. He's the co-founder and partner at Sparklabs Global Venture, which started as South Korea's first accelerator and now has grown into a network of accelerators and venture capital funds. Frank is also the CEO and co-founder of SmartUp, a fast-growing micro-learning platform that is used by startups, business schools, and corporates. Previously, Frank was the board representative for Horizon Ventures at some of the most cutting-edge technology companies like Spotify, Siri, and Affettiva. Horizon Ventures is a private investment fund of Mr. Li Ka Shing, who is one of Asia's most influential businessmen. Hello, Frank. Welcome to Great Owls. Delighted to see you today.
Thanks, Olga.
I worked obviously with Mr. Li Ka Shing for some time, and he's one of the best known and most influential businessmen in Asia. What did you learn from him?
And working for Horizon's team, which is led by the amazing Selena Chow. So I think you learn a lot from just working in the Hutchison environment and the Horizons environment. You learn about how to, the scale of things, what was very interesting was how to link different companies in the portfolio together. So, we've invested in, Spotify. How can Spotify be integrated into the 3 global networks? Same thing with Facebook. Invested into Affettiva. What can Affettiva do to be part of maybe what Spotify is trying to do? And so that, instead of treating each company independently, you really learn how to think, how to integrate different parts of the portfolio and how each of them can help each other. I think that was very important. And secondly, to work on a theme and stick to the theme. So this is our theme, like big data or AI. So Horizons got into AI very early on with Siri, when AI was not cool in Silicon Valley at the Siri days, and just had this huge belief that it would be, and stuck to that thesis and invested in a lot of AI companies that ended up proving to be very, very successful. And then the third thing is just global thinking. The thing I was always extremely impressed with the way the Horizons team handled things was just to go out and just think globally, how could we help in this market? How could we help them expand to Asia or to the US? So those 3 elements really made a difference.
I notice you cover different geographies, you cover different sectors. How do you prioritize which companies to invest into?
We tend to look at sector specific. So Australia, we concentrate on agricultural tech. In Hong Kong and Shenzhen, we concentrate heavily on financial tech. Up in Korea, we do a lot of IoT and smart cities stuff. So, you're tending to see these clusters which are really good at one particular area because a number of corporates and startups are growing in that ecosystem. So I wouldn't say that every city is going to be great at everything, potentially Silicon Valley is. But you are seeing that certain sectors and cities are becoming really good at certain things. So like Indonesia and Vietnam are very good at B2B SaaS companies. They basically, look at something in the US and do it for half the price and a very good product. And that can be very competitive in the US market. China has the ability to be good at everything. Is
that because of the market size?
It's all market size, but also because there's a very heavy focus on research. So there's so many universities churning out so many PhDs and so much, and in Indonesia and Vietnam, that's less so, right? Until the government puts much more money into education, research, university funding, you're not going to get that happening. Korea has really benefited from the government putting a lot more emphasis on research, and of course in Singapore, there's great research here. The government's now putting a lot more emphasis on how do we take that research and make it commercial. And so how do we help PhDs become founders? Here in Singapore, we co-invested in the Entrepreneur First Class, the first class, together with SG Innovate. So we have robotics company here, we have space, we have Hydrolite, which is fantastic wastewater treatment company, Axio, Movable AI. So they're all deep tech companies. That's generally our portfolio.
I noticed on the Smart Up app you
Mm-hmm.
have on the home screen, you have a course in entrepreneurial mind.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think an entrepreneurial mind people are born with, or should it be taught?
It's a great question. And we primarily do invest in founders. I do think that an entrepreneurial mind does come a lot from primary and secondary education. I really do. I think, Silicon Valley, there is so many, founders whose kids come, they experience an entrepreneur around them every day. And I think that does make a huge difference to the ecosystem. I think it does really come back to primary and secondary school, and doing more efforts in primary and secondary school will make a big difference eventually. It definitely can be taught. It's not just all about founders, it's about what are you going to do. Artists are very entrepreneurial, they have to be. They have to get out there and sell their work all the time. My belief is that AI will rapidly replace jobs that, high functioning maths jobs. So, maths PhD coming out and getting a big job in a bank and being a quant in a bank, that's going to get replaced by AI. Those algorithms will take those people out, and those were very highly paid jobs. So, what I see in the trends is you will need to be creative in the future if you want to stay ahead of artificial intelligence. So I think entrepreneurial mindset and being creative in your thinking is extremely important to stay ahead in the future.
And what are some of the trends that you see that you think will have a global impact?
AI is probably going to displace at least 30% of jobs. So what do? So you can sit there and watch it happen, or you can actively and proactively figure out how you're going to retrain and re-skill the population to be different. Secondly, you're going to, some of the most important things is food and water. So, we invest heavily into agricultural startups and anything to do with water at the moment, both of which are becoming such precious resources. So that's, and the vastness of if you're a successful artificial food company making artificial meat or lentils or chicken substitutes or stuff like that, the future is mind-blowingly huge. Space is obviously becoming very big ever since, particularly since Elon shot his Tesla up, and then the other thing that is going to be a large impact after education and these ones is coming back to training. So which is why we started Smart Up, because the corporates are dealing with a younger population all the time, who are very demanding and not just expecting jobs for life, and they're expecting, what am I going to learn in this job? That is their fundamental thing. What am I going to get out of this job? What am I going to learn? And the corporates currently, a lot of their learning systems are quite old school, and their interfaces are just not interesting for a millennial generation used to fast learning. So, that is a big change that corporates are grappling with.
What's the one book that has impacted you the most?
There was one book I read when I was 22 or something, which was Only the Paranoid Survive, by Andy Grove, co-founder of Intel. I love that book, and I was read it at 22. I was like, my God, this is the most awesome book. Unfortunately, I probably lived that a little bit too close in terms of the paranoia. But
why did you relate so much to that?
I think it was just there was two really great things about that book. One, it is your job to be paranoid. You, as a founder, you really got to be paranoid about what your customers are thinking, what your employees are thinking, what trends are happening. You've really got to stay on top of it. You can't relax your guard. And the second thing that I always liked about, and this was something that Hutchison is very, very good at as well, was that Andy Grove would go out, he had a massive company in Intel, and he would go out and talk to everyone. He'd talk to the guys on the ground, he'd talk to the young engineers and the grads, and that's very difficult often for companies to do, because the CEO of that, or the managing director of that unit is super worried, what did that young grad just tell my boss? And for that to happen, really requires a very open, collaborative culture. The CEO, that managing director, he's really not to be worried about what Andy's trying to find out. At the end of the day, he wants to talk to the grads. And the fact that Andy was talking to the grads, he found what's going on the ground far quicker than listening to board reports, which are managed and massaged and edited to highlight all the good bits at the end of the day. So, and I think that's super critical, very, very important lessons.
Thank you so much, Frank, for joining us on Great Owls today, and thank you for watching. Subscribe to Great Owls TV to know when the next episode is up. Learn from the best.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Olga.